National Union for Democracy in Iran has filed an official complaint against BBC Persian, largely known as the main Iran's echo chamber abroad. NUFDI Policy Director Kamran Khansarinian has filed an official complaint against the BBC Persian for its false reporting on a letter he signed along with other activists, former political prisoners and United States hostages in Iran. The non-partisan non-profit organization of Iranian Americans said on its official Twitter account. Mr. Kamran Khansarinian has filed an official complaint regarding the BBC Persian Service's coverage of a letter that was written and signed by Iranian dissidents to the United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken, opposing the selection of Robert Malley as Special Envoy on Iran. I demanded a formal investigation into the research, editing and production of this false reporting and a formal admission of fault from the BBC Persian service, Mr. Kamran Khansarinian said in his complaint. Iran's regime agents accused of planning to bomb a meeting of an exiled opposition group is to be sentenced on Thursday in the first trial of an Iranian official for suspected terrorism in the European Union since Iran's 1979 revolution. After hearings last year, a court in Antwerp, Belgium will decide whether Vienna-based diplomat Asadullah Assadi and 3 others are guilty of attempted terrorism after a plot to bomb a rally of an Iranian opposition group near Paris in June 2018 was foiled by German, French and Belgian police. Iran's exports to Japan have been sharply dropped in 2020. Japan's official statistics showed a sharp drop in Iran's exports to the country last year. Statistics from the Japanese Ministry of Economy show that the country's imports from Iran decreased to $34 million last year, which is equivalent to only 3% of its imports in 2019. According to the report published by the Japanese Ministry of Economy, Tokyo imported $1 billion and $2010 million from Iran last year. Japan's exports to Iran also increased to $82 million last year, a growth of about 19% compared to 2019. This is the first time that Japan's exports to Iran exceed its imports. Japan expects a limited impact from the United States' decision not to renew waivers previously granted on Iran oil import sanctions. Reuters quoted the country's Trade and Industry Minister in 2019. Customs statistics from China, India, and South Korea also show that their exports to Iran last year surpassed their imports for the first time. Iran's exports to China halved in 2020 to $6.4 billion. Iran's exports to India and South Korea also fell from $4.3 billion in 2019 to $288 million last year. Referring to the 2019 nationwide Iran protests, also known as Bloody November, former Iranian soccer player says it's not a civil protest caused by a 200% increase in fuel prices, which he responded to the people with violence and shot them. Iranians have the right to access safe, effective and affordable COVID-19 vaccines. Previously, Ali Khamenei announced a ban on the import of certain vaccines due to their production in the United States and the UK. The member of the Scientific Committee of Iran's Corona National Antivirus Headquarters says, "I do not get Russia's Sputnik V because it was not given full approval by any country." 3 Iranian citizens were sentenced to 4 years and 3 months in prison each for their faith in Baha'i. Tehran Revolutionary Court accused them of assembly and collision against national security and propaganda against Islamic Republic of Iran. Drug addiction treatment center in southern Iran closed after videos goes viral on social networks. indicating that staff torture and flog drug-addicted individuals and throw them into a pool, which was filled with cold water. The Islamic regime hanged political prisoner Javid Dehqan in Zahedan Central Prison this morning. He was sentenced to death for alleged charges of muharebe, enmity against God, and membership of opposition groups. On the occasion of the anniversary of the Islamic Revolution, videos have gone viral on social media networks that show how Iranians feel outrage over tyrants in the country that carry anti-regime slogans and message of defiance and also of hope. Despite years of an intense crackdown, our compatriots have written, "Long live the king." Poor Iranians survive on the leftover food and collect reusable items from the garbage. Yet Tehran spends billions for terrorism. Several backpack carriers, also called kulbars, were fatally shot by IRGC. To make a living and survive, cross-border carriers, kulbars, ship goods across the borders on their back or horseback. They face serious risk due to climate conditions, falling into rivers or valleys, landmines explosion, and gunfire by the border guards or snipers. And this is the only way for their business purposes to provide needful for their families to be alive. 14-year-old Iranian child labor died of suicide because of poverty. According to the reports, that suicide rate of juveniles in Iran has been increased due to poverty and financial difficulties. A man in western Iran has fatally shot his wife, brother-in-law and lawyer for alleged family disputes. Civil activist Roya Jalali was arrested again by intelligence service agents in western Iran. She suffers from symptoms of multiple sclerosis. Roya was previously released on bail after enduring 4 months in detention. Woman says that there is a bathroom for about 60 to 70 people who live around Iranian brick factory. Man whose assets were looted at Tehran Stock Exchange killed his wife, 18-year-old son and 10-year-old daughter, and then killed himself by a hunting gunshot due to bankruptcy. Anti-regime videos have gone viral on social networks, show how Iranian people feel outrage over mullahs. Banknotes with protest messages carry out defiance. Iranians want their dignity and country back. Angry Iraqis teared up the posters of Khomeini, founder of the Islamic Republic regime in Iran, and walked over it.